Good evening and welcome to iSchool's presentation of Get Published, the best advice for students submitting to peer-reviewed journals. I'm Adrienne Mathewson, Editor-in-Chief of the San Jose State University Student Research Journal, known as SURJ. Tonight I'm here with our editorial team members, Sarah Kelso, Managing Editor, and Content and Copy Editors, Alicia Zuniga, Alex Post, Stephanie Ruthier-Perry, and Lawrence Mack. Our topic centers on providing advice to students who are considering submitting to peer-reviewed journals. Our advice is based on the cumulative knowledge of our peer reviewers and copy editors, as well as some of the published authors. SURJ receives submissions on a rolling basis, so throughout the year our team is reading and evaluating papers written by students in the LIST field under the guidance of our faculty advisor, Dr. Anthony Bernier. The editorial team is selected through a competitive application process to appoint research and publication-oriented graduate students to one-year editorial teams. Together with the journal's editorial advisory board, the editorial team goes through a rigorous double-blind peer review process to select, edit, and publish the best student papers in the field of library and information science. SURJ publishes original research, critical reviews, and essays in all areas of the field that contribute to the intellectual inquiry and scholarship of the profession. The iSchool Student Research Journal is downloaded and read by students, researchers, and working professionals worldwide. Readers of the journal hail from India, Pakistan, the United Kingdom, and of course the United States. As of August 2014, articles have been downloaded over 22,000 times. We are in the publication process in issue 2 of volume 4. For those interested in scholarly publications, the Student Research Journal offers graduate student authors the opportunity to share their work and receive feedback from others in the community. Even unpublished authors receive detailed feedback from the journal's editors, giving them valuable critical assessment, beneficial for reworking and revising the manuscripts with a critical eye. This critical review process is ideal for students who have not previously taken part in the scholarly publishing process, but are interested in gaining that experience. In addition to detailed feedback from the journal's editors, authors have the opportunity to hear from readers worldwide about their work. One reader mentioned that articles in this issue were interesting and brought up good points. She also said that Tony Burke's article makes a great case for open source ILS, and she wished it had been available when she needed to write a paper in her collection development class. Several of the published authors have commented that preparing a manuscript and submitting it to the critical eye of the peer reviewers has improved their writing skills. As one author put it, it spurred me on to improve the quality of my writing. Another mentioned the process wasn't as scary as she thought it would be, and she suggested that authors carefully read the submission guidelines before submitting the papers. Former team member and published author Brigitte Gonzalez-Mooney said it best: contributing to the scholarship of the library profession is vitally important to growth in the field. By submitting their work to the journal, graduate students have the opportunity to take part in this important conversation. And now I'll turn this conversation over to my fellow editorial team members as they provide insider knowledge on the best practices for student authors.
Thank you, Adrienne. Hello, my name is Sarah Kelso. I am the Managing Editor of the Student Research Journal. In this presentation, we will discuss the peer review process in scholarly publications, the importance of quality assurance, and strict adherence to rigorous review standards, and will offer advice and assistance to both potential authors and reviewers in the production and publication of manuscripts, which contribute to the advancement and understanding of issues and trends in the library, information, and archives fields. We'll also hear from someone who has seen the process from both sides of the table, both as a published author and a peer reviewer. We encourage your questions and discussion following the presentation. We thank you for your attendance.
Hi everyone, my name is Alicia Zuniga and I'm a content editor with the Student Research Journal.
The first thing we'd like to emphasize in our presentation is the focus on the quality of the peer review process. Over the past few years, peer-reviewed journals have been criticized, with some scholars claiming the process fails in many ways, allowing poorly conducted or inaccurate research to pass through to publication. At Surge, we believe in the importance of rigorous evaluation, selection, and analysis to ensure that manuscripts of the highest quality are added to the body of scholarly literature published in the library and information sciences field. The reviewers for Surge are our editors. In order to be selected as a reviewer, they must fulfill rigorous selection criteria. Reviewers must submit a writing sample that demonstrates they are capable of critical analysis and graduate-level writing so that they can judge this and their peers on these levels. They also must submit a resume or CV and a statement of intent that outlines why they're interested in taking such an active role in the peer review process. They're required to complete a set of core courses, one of which is a course focusing on research theory and design within the library and information science field. This ensures that they're familiar with the purpose, structure, and validity of sound scientific research. There is ongoing in-house development within the journal that is led by managing editors and the PhD faculty advisor. Surge uses a strict double-blind peer review process to ensure the reviewers are unaware of who the authors are and vice versa. In this way, we make sure that anonymity is upheld and helps prevent bias from reviewers. When reviewers are ready to submit their assessment of an article, they use a rubric to complete their evaluation in the following areas: abstract, core research problem, thesis, structure and organization, methodology and analysis, style, language, grammar and spelling, references, scholarly originality, and significance. Reviewers provide critical evaluation of the manuscript to ensure that only graduate-level research and writing gets accepted to the journal. Also important is the level of novelty in making sure that the subject matter is within the scope of the journal. At the end of the evaluation, reviewers make recommendations for one of the 4 following classifications: accept with minor revision, and accept with major revision or reject. And now I'm going to turn it over to Alex, who's going to talk about the process for authors.
Thank you, Alicia. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm also one of the content editors of Surge, and I'm here to offer some advice for those interested in contributing to a scholarly publication. Publishing in the most prestigious journal possible is one of the best ways to gain exposure in your field. Academic journals such as Surge are highly selective and maintain rigorous acceptance standards. One of the best ways to avoid initial rejection is to read and understand the guidelines of the journal. Academic journals are not afraid of rejecting submissions simply because they do not adhere to strict submission guidelines. When considering contributing to a journal, it's important that you are aware of the topics you covered. Stay informed by regularly reading the journal that you would like to submit to. Make sure you are not submitting an article that is too similar to an article that has recently been published. Carefully consider the focus of the journal before deciding to submit. If you have an interesting paper that could evolve to meet the journal style, do not be afraid to mold or rework that paper until it is more closely aligned to the journal's scope. To gain experience in publishing, submit book or article reviews to journals. Not only does this give you a review experience, it also introduces you to the scope and content of the articles being published in the journal. Also, read other journals in your field and analyze them. Ask yourself what constitutes new knowledge in this journal at this time. How can you construct a similar form of contribution from the work you've done? Even at the earliest stages, discuss your idea for a paper with colleagues or mentors. Ask for feedback on your draft. It doesn't take long for colleagues to read it and provide feedback. Take the opportunity to ask other published colleagues for tips and advice. To ensure your work is of the highest caliber, double-check for errors and inconsistency. Surge analyzes submissions based on the quality of writing. Therefore, it's extremely important that you take the time to make sure that aspects such as spelling, grammar, and format are correct. Do multiple revisions before you submit your article to the journal. Remember that academic writing is extremely formal. Therefore, it's imperative that the tone of your article is very professional and free of jargon, cliches, common fallacies, or personal anecdotes. As reviewers, we like to see unique topics. Entice your reader by writing about new, interesting, and relevant topics. Make sure that the article begins with a strong introduction and ends with a conclusion worth remembering. Consider your readers as you write. Knowing your audience is not only important when selecting the journal, but also when choosing the style and tone of your paper. Consider the expertise of the audience and who is going to be interested in what you have to say. Conduct sound research and provide accurate, updated reference sources that can be tracked. When deciding on a topic, don't cherry pick for good sound bites when doing a literature review. Thoroughly read the existing literature and scholarship, then find what's missing in the current discussion. Surge accepts manuscripts of original research, critical reviews, critical essays, and evidence summary. Whatever type of written work you choose to submit, make sure you develop a strong argument for why you chose a method of analysis. Match your method of measurement and analysis to the context. Determine whether a qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method approach is most appropriate and explain why. For instance, a survey might be an appropriate tool for collecting opinions from the community, whereas a case study might be a good fit for arguing in support of a new method or service. The way in which you collect data, evaluate, synthesize, and report it in your research can influence the credibility and strength of your findings with your readers. In an original research paper, for instance, the literature review represents the theoretical core of the article and discusses what other researchers have contributed to the area. A good literature review not only summarizes existing research, but analyzes and synthesizes it. It's an opportunity for you to evaluate what has already been written about the topic. When presenting statistical or quantitative findings in any written work, consider whether the findings are relevant and have they been explained in a way a non-expert could understand. Avoid merely summarizing the data. Include your own synthesis and evaluation. If applicable, use charts, graphs, or visuals to clarify the findings. After submitting an article, you will receive an acknowledgement that the journal has received the paper. The managing editors then make an immediate decision about whether the article should be rejected or should they be sent for peer review. When analyzing reviewers' feedback on your submission, be sure to understand fully what exactly the reviewers are asking you to revise or change. Work out whether the reviewers want you to add or cut something, reevaluate your argument, or simply make some structural changes. Be persistent, thick-skinned, and resilient. Fear of rejection should not deter anyone from submitting. Very few authors are published on the first go, so it is important that you go into this not being afraid of rejection. It might be helpful to discuss your feedback with others. You may find that other people, even published researchers, still get rejections and negative reviews. If your article is rejected, it is still useful to analyze feedback and revise it for other publications. Most feedback will help you improve your paper and your journal writing. Just because it doesn't fit the scope of Surge does not mean it will fit elsewhere. I'm going to hand the mic over now to Lawrence to discuss editorial tips that may be helpful for reviewers. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, I'm content editor Lawrence Mack, and I'm here to present our editorial tips that may be helpful for reviewers. As a content editor, it is our job to critically analyze a paper to discern the author's intentions and context before providing constructive feedback so that the author can improve on their work. One of the main strategies we employ during the review process is to strategically read a manuscript through our particular discourse pattern, reading backwards. We review a manuscript by reading it in the following order: conclusion, introduction, and main body. We begin by reading the concluding section of the manuscript first, in order to discern several things, such as key terms, the author's thesis, core question, and main topics. We then return to the introduction in order to correlate the author's main points with those in the conclusion. If the conclusion does not correlate with the introduction, that is a sign the manuscript might be inconsistent and flawed in its reasoning process. We then read the body last to confirm the inclusion of the main points and to see the analysis behind the statements. Some advantages gained using the reading backwards strategy include a stronger confidence in mastery over the manuscript with which to digest and analyze the work, and the ability to more easily contextualize an argument or contribution. A reviewer should provide constructive feedback to current revisions and resubmissions. This will help the authors to improve both their manuscript and their writing skill. Another thing to remember is that being an editor means maintaining an attitude of impartiality as you read the manuscript. It's your job to judge the manuscript on its own merits in accordance with the reviewing body's standards, and not your own. Thank you, and now I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie for dual perspectives.
Thanks, Lawrence. My name is Steph, and I'm the copy editor at Surge, as well as a published author for the journal. At first, I was not sure if I wanted to submit my manuscript for consideration. After all, I know exactly how strict Surge is in accepting submissions, and I was nervous and didn't want to take the chance that it would be rejected, especially because I work with the people who would be reviewing my submission. While it is a double-blind process, I knew that at least the managing editor and the editor-in-chief would know that the submission was mine, and it would be very embarrassing if it was rejected. After thinking about it, however, I decided I really should give it a try. While working at the journal, we have participated in different training exercises and have had a lot of experience working with and thinking about research papers and how they should be presented. I decided that if I didn't at least try to get published, I would have no real way of knowing whether I was putting my new skills to good use. I was nervous while waiting to see if my paper was accepted, but hopeful. Once I got the word back that the manuscript is accepted, I was able to breathe a big sigh of relief. I did have to make some minor revisions to the paper, which I didn't mind doing. Although at first it can be hard to hear criticism, if it's done in a constructive manner, as I know all Surge critiques are, it doesn't take long to understand that these suggestions will help strengthen the manuscript and give me something to consider for future writing. As well, it will benefit the journal and academic scholarship overall. I'm happy with the way my paper turned out and with the downloading submissions that have come since. It was tweeted by several different LIS professionals and publications, including industry papers like Library Journal, as well as subject-specific websites. I also get monthly reports telling me how many times my paper was downloaded that month. This makes me proud and shows me two things. One, that my paper has contributed to the scholarship of our profession, and two, that Surge is an important publication that is taken seriously in our profession. I'm also happy that I managed to contribute something to Surge, a journal I know we have all worked so hard on for the past semesters. I'm particularly pleased to know that my work has contributed to academic LIS scholarship, and that Surge exists as a place for students to gain experience and exposure and to show the world what we know. To anyone thinking about submitting, my advice is that you should carefully consider the suggestions made earlier in the presentation and then go for it. It's a very rewarding experience and one that I'm so glad I did. You never know what you're capable of until you try.
Thank you, Steph. Quality research is important to any field, and the library and information world is no exception. Your work as an MLS student is important to the information professions and can make excellent contributions to the body of scholarly knowledge. Not only will it likely open doors in the working world post-graduation, it will add to the conversations taking place on important current issues. By adhering to a few important guidelines in the peer review process, and by understanding the role of both author and editor, you have a better chance at successfully publishing and ultimately sharing your work. We encourage MLS students to submit to the San Jose State University iSchool Student Research Journal, regardless of your institutional affiliation. We look forward to helping advance the work of our colleagues while furthering the values of library and information services. This concludes our presentation. We are happy to welcome questions at this time, and thank you for attending.
So I'm here to answer any questions if anybody has anything specific they'd like to ask about our presentation. If not, I have a couple, or while you're thinking of them, I can talk about a couple of issues that have come up for us. One, as you noticed, Steph was both an author and a reviewer, and there may arise the question that questioning the integrity of the double-blind peer review process when our own team members are submitting to the journal. So the process is that the managing editor and the editor-in-chief are the only ones that know who the authors are. And we're also the only ones that are not allowed to submit to the journal. The content editors and copy editors are able to submit because they have no idea who the authors are. We have 2 teams, so it's just a matter of simply assigning the paper to different team members, and they have no idea either. So once the paper gets into the process, it is no different than any other submission, whether they're part of the team or not. So that's one question we have. Does anybody have any other? Did anybody have any input? Okay, let me just mention one more thing then. Another question that comes out in within the process is fact-checking, checking reference. Do we have subject matter experts? And yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we have a whole editorial board behind us, which is composed of faculty members, all of whom are published researchers, authors, and PhDs. And we are welcome to call upon them if we have any questions regarding papers that arrive. And we also, the peer reviewers actually take quite a bit of time, and they really thoroughly examine the references. And one thing I've noticed is that they really do take note of the references, and they check to make sure that they're valid and they're relevant and current. And so those are 2 questions that have come up before, and if anybody has anything. Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that. Means a lot. Do any of the team members want to answer Anthony's question there? Alicia, do you want to answer that question? Do you see where Anthony's asking if anybody was surprised by anything between the time before their appointment to the team and after?
Sure, I can answer that. I think I'm one of the newest people on the editorial board as a content editor. I think I was just surprised at how much, first of all, how good the submissions are. It's just really high quality research, but also I guess how much of an impact you can have being a reviewer or an editor. And like Steph said, it's really, or excuse me, Alex said, people, when they're reviewing, they're really not trying to make you fail or anything like that. They're really making suggestions to help you make your paper better. So that's part of the process that I've enjoyed. And the part that just surprised me was how big of an impact you can have on it.
Thank you. Let's see, we have a question here asking if there's any recommendations to finding peer-reviewed journals that students' recent grads should look into. Okay, for students, we actually accept submissions from any LIST program. It's not just the iSchool students. We've had students from Buffalo, Arizona. So if you're a student, then we're definitely open to receiving your submission. For recent grads, I would say just go for it and submit to the library journal or any other journal that is relevant to the subject that you're writing about, and throw yourself out there and take a risk. And the worst you can do is be rejected, and then you'll know where you need to work on from there. You know, I'm not exactly certain if doctoral students can submit or not. Maybe our advisor, Dr. Bernier, can weigh in on that one.
Hi, this is Anthony. I'm the faculty advisor for the Student Research Journal. In terms of master's degree students, I mean, that's our primary focus. We've pretty much limited the manuscript submissions to 2 master's degree students. Although we've got our own doctoral students we've tried to entice in from time to time, but haven't been very successful in getting people to submit manuscripts because their manuscripts need to be sort of playing in a different pond, so to speak. So I don't recall off the top of my head if we have a particular policy on that or not, but it would be something that we would have to take up because I don't even remember ever getting one from a doctoral student. Maybe someone who was finishing a master's program, entering into a doctoral program, but who was still relating and writing from the point of view of a master's student. But it would be something we would have to take up if we were going to consider that. Stop.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that input. You're welcome to email. If you go on the website, there's a link to email, and we'll certainly take that into consideration. Okay, so okay, book reviews. We are in the process of setting up a book review process. We just haven't fully developed that yet, but that is something that we are planning to do within this next year, hopefully. So at that point, that will be available. Thank you for that. And let's see, the workflow during the semester is we accept submissions on a rolling basis. So depending on the number of submissions that are received, we've noticed that there's a spike of submissions at the end of the semester, which makes sense. And really, it just depends. We might get 4 or 5 in right away, and then everybody gets to work. And after that, it goes through the revision process, and then ultimately we publish, which we publish twice a year, once in December and once in May. And we've had some pretty good issues. Is there any other input or anything that anybody else would like to talk about, any of our team members, or is there anything that sparked your interest or any of the participants? We actually have a really good way of working. We have monthly team meetings the last Sunday of the month, and everybody participates. We use the same forum, the Collaborate. Throughout the month, we're constantly emailing, asking questions, working together. We have a really good communication among the team members right now. I think that we all feel really comfortable with the working virtually. We're on different time zones, but so far that hasn't made too much of a difference since most people seem to be on Pacific time, except for me. But it works out really well, so I enjoy it.
I was just going to add to that and say the communication really helps, especially because we're online students. We're pretty good at having to discuss things with each other online, either with discussion postings we keep up via email, and then we have our monthly meetings here. So we just really make sure to stay in contact a lot with each other.
and just make sure that nobody goes for too long without being in contact. Regular contact is really important. And we've all been working together for a while now, so we're really getting used to each other's working styles, and that helps a lot as well.
I completely agree with you, Steph, and I think that good communication is fostered by leaving the door open and making sure that people know you're always available to answer questions and that there are no dumb questions. I know I've certainly been in that position where I was afraid to ask, and that makes a difference when you're communicating with any team, whether it's for something like an editorial review process or in the workplace. So we try really hard to play to everybody's strengths and to make it truly collaborative so that everybody has a voice and equal input in the process and in anything that we do on the team, which is really helpful. It helps us get to know each other. We have a pretty standardized process for the way we do things so that people know what to expect. And this comes along with our meetings as well. We know when we're meeting, what we're going to be talking about, and we always provide an open forum for people to add their opinions or concerns or issues. And we just try to make sure and check in with everybody periodically so that nobody feels overwhelmed. But that seems to help ensure a great collaborative spirit. And as students, I think we can all sympathize with what it's like to be involved with group projects where people aren't pulling their weight. So we work extra hard to overcome that in order to serve the authors who are being so patient in submitting their manuscripts and waiting to hear back from us. So that's how we try to ensure good communication.
Okay, would anybody else like to chime in? Any questions? Anything of note or whatever you want to talk about? We still have a few minutes. Otherwise, if everybody's done and finished, then we can wrap it up. Okay, well, looks like we're pretty much done here. Sarah, do you want to close this out, or do you want me to go ahead and I'll just thank everybody, and especially the team. I have to say that I'm really, really proud of our team this year. We have every single team member is just excellent beyond belief, and I know that I really appreciate it. And the journal is just a great opportunity, very great opportunity for the students. So I recommend any student to just go ahead and submit your paper. I'm always here to help. We all have suggestions, advice, so I'm here for you. Thank you so much for everybody for participating.
Yes, thank you everybody for coming. We encourage you to get involved with the process if you are a student. It's really great for engaging outside of your program in a really valuable way that contributes to the larger conversation in the library and information world. So, as library students, we're probably already out there reading journals, but it's just a good way to get an inside perspective of what it's like and to see how your contribution can make a difference in the discussions people are having about important services. So definitely, if you have some writing that you want to submit, please send it our way. We look forward to hearing from you, and we thank you for attending. At this time, we're going to go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll ask participants to exit. Thank you.